Hey everyone, welcome back to Alpha Challenges. Today we're diving into the cosmos with a brand new Hearthstone deck that's shaking up the meta, Quasar Rogue. Quasar Rogue is all about unpredictability and explosive praise. Imagine harnessing the power of the stars with spells and minions that create massive swings and out of this world combos. In this video, we'll break down the key cards that make this deck a shining star, show you some stellar gameplay highlights, and give you tips on how to pilot this deck to victory. Whether you're a seasoned Rogue player or you're trying to look for something new and exciting, Quasar Rogue has something for everyone. Ready to blast off? Let's get into it. Quasar is a 6 mana rogue spell that shuffles your hand into your deck and reduces the cost of cards in your deck by 3. Since a lot of this deck has a cost of 3 or less, this is the ultimate spell in terms of comboing down your opponent with the amount of cycle and low cost spells for damaging the opponent's face. Quasar is used in combination with a few other cards. Preparation is a 0 cost spell. The next spell you cast this turn costs 2 less. So in combination with Quasar, it means that you can play it as early as turn 4. Knick-Knack Shack is a 3 mana location that allows you to draw a card, and if you play it again this turn, you are able to reopen it. So in combination with Quasar, reducing down the cost of all your spells by 3, it means that you can cycle through a lot of your deck. You can use this ability 4 times, and hopefully with the addition of the other draw cards that are in this deck, you're able to cycle through your whole deck. The final card that we're going to look at is Ethereal Oracle. The the ability of this card allows you to draw 2 new spells. So in combination with 0 cost spells, you can play down the Ethereal Oracle for 0 once you've got Quasar. You then draw 2 more spells from your deck, which hopefully has some cycle or some burst. And then you're able to, in addition to that, add an extra spell damage to each of your spells that are going face at your opponent. With all these additional features that are put together, this allows you to combo down your opponent from up to 50 health. The following gameplay has a few wins and a few losses using Quasar Rogue. One of the games has me draw out the combo, but I'm too low on health to be able to use it. Another weakness that you'll also find with Quasar Rogue is that if the Death Knight plays Helena down, it means that you, even though you cycle through your cards, it reduces down your turn time, and also you do take damage each time one of the plagues gets shuffled and then shuffled back into your deck. What I'm doing at the moment in this play is I'm currently getting my hands together and I'm trying to get as much of the combo pieces together as I can before trying to combo the opponent down. It's important that while I'm doing this that I am making sure that my health is staying at a high enough total and I'm not in danger of being knocked being defeated, because if I get too low on health, it means that although the combo could go off, you don't want to reduce your health down too low in case that you don't draw Quasar by turn 6. When you are getting the combo pieces together, I did play down Blood Mage Thalmos, and that's because I did need to draw some more cards, but I also needed to make sure that I wasn't taking too much damage from the opponent. I am at the moment deciding what I'm going to do next, but ultimately the best play is that I'm going to get the Quasar play off next turn, and since I've got a quick pick as well, it does mean that I'm able to get what I need to. I also decide here to make sure that I can get the coin, because when you do use Quasar, you do have the possibility of drawing into a spell or the Elven Minstrel that will cost 1 after Quasar goes off, because they were initially 4 cost. The best way forward in terms of this is making sure that I use coin and then I use preparation, because it will allow me to get the combo turn off. I do get Knick-Knack Shack, which allows me then to think of if I'm going to add an extra turn. I do decide to give it another turn, because knowing Death Knight, unless they use the 6 mana minion that then does 5 corpses to me, I will have no possibility of losing in this situation. So I think the risk is worth it to make sure that the next turn I can go off. On the turn that you are going off, it's important that you make sure that you have as much time as you can, so you need to use it as quickly as possible. So you'll notice that as soon as this opponent ends their turn, I'm straight away using my spells because I've thought of the combo, what I'm going to do next. So I'm going to go coin, I'm going to go prep, I'm then going to go Quasar. My hand gets shuffled into my deck. I'll then use Knick-Knack. I'll draw my first card. This is probably one of the best draws that you can get with the deck from it, and then I'd get a mic drop. I'll then draw some more with mic drop. I'll draw some more cards. I don't want to use all my face damage too early because I do want to get the Oracle and Blood Mage Thalnos out beforehand, because otherwise I will have trouble. I will have trouble with the amount of health. And then I'm still comboing down the opponent, so I'm making sure that each time I'm doing one of the spells that I'm drawing as many cards as I can, and then I'm also using the cards to deal extra damage. I'll use the Elven Minstrel here because I want to draw my extra Oracle. I want to play it down so then I can do extra damage to the opponent. The spell damage obviously does add up for the amount that you do end up doing to them, so each time, once I get to the cards that I don't really need to cycle through, I'll end up using my different combo pieces to make sure that I draw what I need to. And the last card there with the Eviscerate allowed me to get the last bit of damage I needed down on the opponent. Going into the next game, the same plan is clear. I need to make sure that I'm trying to cycle for Quasar, but I'm also trying to make sure that I have enough to be able to deal damage to the opponent. I decide here to keep the tar stick because they may end up building a board that could be a bit concerning for me. The gear stick doesn't really help me here because with Quasar I want to make sure that I'm doing what I can to cycle through my deck, but I need to make sure that I have a Quasar in my hand to be able to make the power play turn. Drawing the second gear shift doesn't particularly help me too much, but since I don't really need the tar at the moment because it looks like they're playing the Reno list, I decide that that's the best for it. I have drawn into my second Quasar, so I'm thinking about what I'm going to do in terms of making sure that the opponent doesn't deal too much damage to me. So I did use my dagger to take out the first of the 1/1 that he had in his board. Right here, I am going to use Quasar relatively soon and hope that I do draw into what I need to. The Helena play here pretty much sums up that I'm not going to be able to win. Especially if he does get me down to relatively low health, because each time that the plague is drawn, which you do cycle through a lot of cards in this deck, you take extra damage and it doesn't get reduced down by that. So I do try, I do obviously take it out to try and reduce down the amount of damage that they can deal to me, and we'll see what happens from there. This turn I'm going to be using coin into Quasar. I won't use the location because if I draw into one of my cards, it won't be the best play for me. So if I get stuck with a card that isn't one of the spells, I would then not be able to use the location again for another 2 turns, which would definitely be enough time for them to beat me. This turn here, I draw into the Blood Plague, and since I've taken the extra damage and I've drawn into Quasar, I decide to give it another extra turn, because if I use it, I may not have enough time once again to be able to take out the opponent. This probably is a misplay. Ultimately, it probably would have been better just trying to draw what I needed to and then combo him down, especially since Quasar's the only card that I have in my hand there, so I would have still been able to use each of the cards. And then I would have obviously had less damage dealt to me here. So I'm down to 5 health once this happens, so we'll wait and see what happens with the draws, but when I draw here, I get the combo manager, so I play it down and use it. I then draw again, and I don't draw into one of my drawing pieces, so I'm getting out of options really. I draw into the final mic, I then get an Eviscerate and a Blood Mage, so I play down the Blood Mage Thalmos. I use the Eviscerate, I use my Knick-Knack Shack and draw again. I then get another Eviscerate, but since I don't have any more ways to cycle through my deck because I didn't draw the Oracle or anything, it meant that I had no chance of being able to win here. So I'm going into a mage here, and because of how popular Elemental Mage has been, I'm assuming that this is going to be once again Elemental Mage. Obviously, once again, the idea is to make sure that I have a little bit of cycle, but I'm also hoping for that Quasar. The Fan of Knives here is going to be quite useful in terms of if they do end up getting a board with the 3/2s, and that's ultimately my thought process behind it, especially with the tar sticks that's there. So I end my turn, I keep the coin because the coin can ultimately be useful in terms of getting Quasar off turn 5 and then being able to start doing the plays on turn 6. They just play down the 3/2 elementals, so I just use Quick Pick to cycle through an extra card. Getting the Knick-Knack Shack here is very useful because it can be used in combination once again with Quasar that I'm waiting on drawing. The opponent here is taking a little bit of time, but then they play down their Tainted Ramekin. It does deal 7 damage to the face, which is quite a lot, and I do make sure that I don't want to take this damage here, so I use Tar Stick and Fan of Knives to once again cycle through the deck, but also reduce down the amount of damage that I'm taking. Getting the Quasar here means that I'm going to next turn play down Knick-Knack Shack, and then the turn after use Coin Quasar, and then I'm going to more than likely wait around for the turn. So it's important with this deck that you are making sure that each time you make you are planning out your turns in advance, because otherwise you won't have enough time on the turn that you are about to pop off to take out the opponent. So for the most part, each turn that you make, you're thinking about what you're going to be doing the following turns, and that's the way that you do make sure that you run out. They do play down the 3/2 here, so my turn here is I'm thinking about what I end up doing. Obviously drawing the Fan of Knives here was very important, and I do decide to wait an extra turn because getting 15 damage 15 damage to face here would not be very ideal, and it also means that the following turn I'll still be able to cycle through my deck. Because when I play down, I'll go Coin, Quasar, and then I still have 2 cards that are allowed me to draw, and then we'll see what happens from there. But due to that means that it's more than likely that I will have what I need to, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens for it. So my thought process for this following turn is making sure that I'm going to use Coin, I'll use Quasar next, I'll then use the location to draw a card and see what happens from it for there. Each of your plays you need to make sure that you're thinking about in advance, and that's key in terms of mastering a deck that has a lot of combo cards that are in for it. With the preparation, that pretty much seals the deal of what I need to do. So I float 3 mana, which allows me to just keep drawing cards. I'm going here to deal the damage to face and draw some more. Quasar obviously isn't a great card to be drawing here, so I use the O Manager. I then use the Coin, and then I use the Quasar because I don't want to have that same situation. I'll draw here, and getting the gear shift was very, very important, making sure that I could get through. And then obviously I have what I need to here to win the game with all the combo pieces that are available. So I just draw as much as I can, click on each of the locations, and then keep drawing cards and using the combo spells. Each time that I draw a spell damage minion, I want to play that down to increase my damage output. So while I'm doing this, there is probably a misplay or two that I do end up making without by not dealing the extra damage that I could be. I obviously could have played the quick pick, but because I'd already dealt lethal, it didn't really matter too much. The next game, once again, I'm versing a Death Knight. Death Knight is one of the most popular classes because it has had a strong showing at the initial part of this meta. My choices here are pretty simple. I want to make sure that I'm trying to cycle with what I can. I will keep the Knick-Knack Shack because it's pretty much one of the cards that you definitely want to have mulligan for, along with Quasar. It's probably the second most important card to be drawing in the early turns to allow that combo turn to take off. In terms of the possibility of nerfs, I think it's quite likely, simply because the solitaire game plan that you do end up doing with this deck is quite uninteractive for the opponent, because ultimately you're just passing each turn, you're dealing with the minions that are on the board, and then you're going to do a big pop-off turn, one turn, and just take them down from full health. So it does feel like that it's going to end up getting nerfed. Probably the Oracle, I think, is probably going to be the most likely card to receive the nerf. Quasar could obviously receive a nerf and make it down to 2, reduce down the spells by 2. It could increase its mana up to 7. The Oracle will probably get changed to being a 4-cost spell, 4-cost minion, because spell damage is a very powerful effect, and in addition to being able to also draw 2 spells, it's quite likely that it has too much value for a 3-cost minion. I don't think that anything's going to happen to Knick-Knack Shack. Yeah, so I think it'll be either of those 2 cards that will get a nerf eventually if this deck does become too problematic for opponents. Obviously the way to beat it is to use an aggressive style deck before that you can get the Quasar turn off, because once you reduce down the amount of combo that the deck can use, it means that you won't have a chance of being able to deal with it. My thought process here is I'm making sure that I'm not only cycling the cards, but I'm also keeping the opponent in a relatively low amount of health, because I don't want them to get too high health, otherwise I won't be able to combo down. I did hope to get out the More Ensure that turn, but because of my draws I didn't really have the possibility without burning the preparation to knock it out. Obviously what I'm thinking of here is I want to make sure that I'm drawing what I can, and hopefully getting the Quasar relatively soon. The top deck of the Quasar here is very important because I'm ultimately next turn going to be able to cycle through and get the combo off on this opponent. Once again, what I need to plan out is I need to decide how I'm going to use this turn. So I look at the amount of cards that are in my deck and then think about what I'm going to do. So my turn is going to be preparation, I'll then use Quasar, and then I will be cycling through the deck with the different abilities. So looking at the opponent, they have 42 health, and I do need to get most of my combo pieces off to be able to knock out this opponent. They will then, if I do not take out the 2 minions, it will then mean that they will have effectively 50 health, and drawing the oracles here with the Elven Minstrel does mean that I can cycle through quite heavily. I use my own managers to get some coins. I then click on my Knick-Knack Shacks to help reduce down the amount of time that it takes for each of the turns that I have. I do as much as I can here in terms of making sure I'm dealing damage to the opponent. They do obviously end up getting that 8 health back, so I did make a little... I do end up running relatively low in terms of the amount of cards that I have left, but since I have the 7 damage weapon, it does mean that I'm able to take the opponent out with that. So that was a 52 damage turn, and obviously shows the power of the deck. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope that you found it beneficial for your viewing. If you liked the content, I will be doing more content over the next following weeks about the latest Hearthstone expansion. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks.